Ever wish you could just slip into a conversation with a native English speaker and like blend right in? We're diving into the secret code of sounding fluent today. Slang
Yeah.
phrasal verbs
Yeah.
and those idioms that kind of make you scratch your head and laugh at the same time.
It's amazing how those expressions, often more than just definitions, offer a glimpse into a culture's humor, history, even their worldview.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got 4 terms on our list today.
Okay.
Kerfuffle,
Yes.
take the plunge, cut to the chase, and euphemism.
Love it.
First up, kerfuffle. Imagine this. You're in a packed grocery store. Everyone's just trying to get their shopping done. And suddenly, boom, someone's cart loses a wheel, sending groceries scattering everywhere.
Oh, no.
Not exactly a disaster, but definitely a kerfuffle.
A word with such a fun sound, and its roots are just as interesting. It comes from Scottish Gaelic kerfuffle, basically meaning a twist or a disorder. You can almost hear the lighthearted chaos in the word itself.
It's like the English language found a way to shrug and say, well, that happened.
Right.
You encounter a kerfuffle, you don't freak out, you just kind of roll with the punches, right?
Exactly. And it speaks to how different cultures might deal with minor setbacks. Instead of panic, there's a bit of humor woven in.
So we've talked about minor mishaps with kerfuffle, but what about those big life decisions? That's where taking the plunge comes in. I remember when I quit my job to pursue writing full-time,
Wow.
it was terrifying and exhilarating.
And there's a reason we use that imagery of diving into water. Taking the plunge perfectly captures that leap of faith involved in making a big decision. There's that unknown depth, the risk, but also the exhilarating potential of what you might find.
A total trust fall with the universe.
Yes.
Think about a time you had to take the plunge. Maybe it was moving to a new city, switching careers, or even just trying that weird food everyone's talking about. It's that mix of excitement and, oh no, what have I done? It makes it so memorable.
And often, those are the moments that lead to the most growth, wouldn't you say?
100%. Speaking of efficiency, which taking a plunge sometimes isn't, our next phrase is all about getting straight to the point. Cut to the chase. We've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Stuck listening to someone go on and on and on when all you want are the key takeaways.
And isn't that so true today? We're bombarded with information. It's no wonder cut to the chase has become such a workplace staple.
Right.
It's like saying, look, I value your time and mine, so let's get to the point.
Right. Like, hit me with the highlights.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is this phrase actually comes from the world of early filmmaking.
Exactly. Back then, the chase scenes were the thrilling climax, the moments audiences eagerly anticipated. So cutting to the chase meant skipping the boring build-up and getting straight to the good stuff. It's about valuing directness, especially in a world that often feels bogged down by information overload.
Okay, so we've got those little disruptions, kerfuffles. We've got big leaps of faith with taking the plunge. And we've got the art of being direct with cut to the chase. But what about those times when you need to be delicate?
Ah, yes. That's where euphemisms come in. Think of it as the velvet glove of the English language, softening the blow of potentially harsh or uncomfortable topics.
Right, like when someone says someone passed away instead of saying they died.
Precisely. It's a way to navigate sensitive conversations with tact and consideration for others' feelings. And it all ties back to the word's Greek roots, eu meaning good, and euphemism meaning speech. Essentially, it's about choosing good speech to create more harmonious atmosphere.
Which I think is something we could all use a little more of.
Agreed.
And it's fascinating how euphemisms differ across cultures.
Absolutely. What might be considered a polite way to address a sensitive topic in one culture could be completely different in another.
Right.
It's a reminder that language isn't just about words. It's about understanding the subtle cues and social norms that shape how we communicate.
It's like learning the unspoken rules of a conversation.
Exactly. And those rules can be just as important as the words themselves.
So we've got kerfuffle. For those everyday mini-dramas, take the plunge. For those bold leaps of faith, cut to the chase. For when we need to get straight to the point. And euphemism for navigating delicate topics with grace. Our deep dive today wouldn't be complete without digging into the fun part, right? Like, did our sources reveal any juicy tidbits about the origins of these expressions?
As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
they did. Remember how cut to the chase came from early filmmaking? Well, back then, chase scenes were often filmed on separate sets or even different locations to heighten the sense of excitement and danger.
Wait, really? So they were literally cutting to a different part of the film? That makes the idiom so much more vivid.
It's amazing how these expressions often have these hidden layers of meaning embedded within them, isn't it? It's like the language itself is telling a story.
Right.
And just like with any good story, sometimes the most interesting parts are the ones hidden beneath the surface.
Okay, that is so cool. It's like a linguistic Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
But for our listeners out there who might be thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but how does this help ME sound more fluent? What would you say?
I think the biggest takeaway is to embrace the playful, even adventurous side of language learning.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to experiment with slang, phrasal verbs, and idioms. They might seem a little daunting at first, but they're the keys to unlocking a deeper level of fluency and cultural understanding.
And secret passwords into a whole new level of fluency.
Precisely. And just like with any new skill, the more you use them, the more natural they become.
And who knows, maybe you'll even invent your own slang one day.
All right.
Okay, maybe not, but a listener can dream, right?
Indeed. The beauty of language is its ever-evolving nature. What's considered slang today might be standard tomorrow and vice versa.
Which brings us back to something we talk about a lot on the show. Learning a language is a journey, not a destination. It's about embracing the process, the discoveries, and yes, even the occasional kerfuffles along the way.
Well said.
It's like that feeling of finally understanding a joke in a new language. It's more than just getting the words. It's about connecting with the culture behind them.
Exactly. And that sense of connection is what makes language learning so rewarding. It's about building bridges between cultures, experiences, and perspectives.
Beautifully put. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the wilder side of English slang, phrasal verbs, idioms, what's the one thought you want to leave our listener with today? Something to keep in mind as they go about their day.
Well, we've explored these expressions from English, but every language has its own quirks and treasures. So I'd encourage our listener to think about the slang, phrasal verbs, and idioms they love in their own language. What stories do they tell? What do they reveal about their own culture and history?
Ooh, I love that. It's like a personal linguistic treasure hunt.
Yes.
Uncovering those gems that make language so fascinating.
Precisely. And you never know, you might just discover a whole new kerfuffle or cut to the chase waiting to be shared with the world.
Right. Or maybe even invent one. To our amazing listeners, keep those ears open, stay curious, and most importantly, keep exploring the world one word at a time. Until next time, happy learning.